Hello, my name is David Lance, and I want to welcome you to this issue of Discovering Truth at the Movies. Today, in this episode of the Chronicles of Belteshazzar, the boys ask Grandpa a question about whether or not Daniel really became friends with the Babylonian captain of the guard. Now, Grandpa answers this by telling them a story about the sci-fi TV series Babylon 5. And so as we go through this episode, a question for reflection will be, how can we use the power of telling stories to battle the spiritual forces in this dark world? And so the Chronicles of Belteshazzar, in terms of the concept of having a grandfather talking to his grandsons, is sort of based on the movie of The Princess Bride, where a grandfather spends time with a sick grandson reading him a book, and the characters just simply come alive. The story is designed to be for kids roughly ages 9 to 15, maybe like 4th through 9th grade, and I hope to eventually publish this as a book. So I want to ask you to consider joining me as I read each chapter and provide commentary. I'll be reading a chapter at a time, including a question for reflection, posting the audio on my podcast, Discovering Truth at the Movies, and then also uploading to a YouTube channel. So hope to eventually publish the book and hope you'll consider getting it for your grandkids and so forth. And so with that, let me begin with chapter 9, Grandpa Answers Matthew. Grandpa, did that really happen? Did Daniel and Naaman actually have that conversation? Matthew looked up at his grandfather expectantly, waiting for an answer. Matthew, we don't have anything that says that a conversation like the one I just told you a story about took place. But we do know that the Babylonians had their own story of how the flood happened. We know about all the Babylonian gods and how they believed the world came into existence. Now, if Daniel and the captain of the Babylonian guard were real people, and I certainly believe they were, doesn't it make sense that they would have talked about things like their religious beliefs? Grandpa stopped and looked at all three boys as he waited for them to answer. Finally, Isaac spoke up. Tonight at dinner, you asked me how I was doing at school, and I told you I got an A on a history test and a B plus on a math test. And I told you that I tried out for the soccer team, but I didn't tell you everything I did or about every conversation I had with my friends. But even if I don't tell you about every single thing I did during the week, you could imagine some of those things and sort of tell a story about how they happened as though they really did happen. Right, Grandpa? Yes, Isaac. In fact, I might say that you played chess with your friend Phil and that he beat you. And because he beat you, you decided to go to the library to check out a book on how to play chess better. Now, Isaac, I don't know if that happened or not, but since you do like to play chess, and you have a friend named Phil, is what I just said something that you could see actually happening? Wow, Grandpa, something that like that did sort of happen. My friend Eric beat me yesterday. I asked him how he got so good at chess, and he showed me a book he had gotten from the library. I decided that the next time I was there, I'd try to find a book on how to play chess better. Turning to Matthew, Grandpa said, you see, Matthew, your idea that there would have been fights among all the different people exiled to Babylon is a very reasonable idea. It's reasonable because you know what people do today when they are around other people who aren't like them. And even though I didn't know anything about Isaac's conversation with his friend Eric, I could imagine something like that story because we all know that Isaac likes to play chess and that he hates to lose. Grandpa walked over to his computer and turned it on. After a few moments, he Googled a TV show called Babylon 5. Once he had it on the screen, he played a short video about the show. Here's what the trailer's narrator said. It was the dawn of the third age of mankind, 10 years after the Earth-Minbari War. The Babylon Project was a dream given form. Its goal, to prevent another war by creating a place where humans and aliens could work out their differences peacefully. It's a port of call, a home away from home for diplomats, hustlers, entrepreneurs, and wanderers. Humans and aliens wrapped in 2,500,000 tons of spinning metal all alone in the night. It can be a dangerous place, but it's our last best hope for peace. This is the story of the last of the Babylon stations. The year is 2258, and the name of the place is Babylon 5. Kids, the TV show Babylon 5 came on the Sci-Fi Channel back in 1994, back when your dad was about your age. It was a place where the representatives from different alien planets came to discuss their differences and have a way of keeping peace between a lot of people who had a history of fighting each other. Now, what if Daniel or someone like him were to create a council where representatives of the different tribes could meet and work out their differences? Just like they did in the show Babylon 5, Grandpa? Asked Matthew. Yes. Um, you see, God didn't want Daniel to die. And because of that, there must have been situations where Daniel had opportunities to speak with that man. That they became friends. And when the time came to carry out King Nebuchadnezzar's order to kill Daniel, he couldn't because they were already friends. I think God created a set of circumstances that allowed Daniel and the captain of the guard to become friends. So when the order came to kill Daniel, they talked about the situation because that's what friends do. Matthew thought for a moment, and then, as though a light bulb had just turned on in his head, Matthew said, "So, Grandpa, your story about Daniel and Naaman talking about their different flood stories and their religions is an example of how you imagine the two of them getting to know each other and become friends, right?" "Right, Matthew. Now, let's get back to the story." At this point, I want to share a personal reflection. You see, back in the 1990s, there really was a show that I watched on the Sci-Fi Channel every night when it was on. For 5 seasons, I religiously watched the episodes of Babylon 5. Not only did they have weekly episodes, but several full-length made-for-TV movies were made that extended the story of the alien races and the key characters that inhabited a 5-mile-long space station. While each alien race had its own secret agenda, the main characters from several of the races formed a bond of friendship that allowed them to guide their different cultures toward the building of a stable alliance of alien races. And when I wrote my original novel, The Brotherhood of the Scroll, from 1997 to 1999, the relevance of what was envisioned in the TV show formed my thought process of how Daniel must have lived and interacted with the different groups living in Babylon. In the city of Indianapolis, where I live, there is a group called 10 Point Coalition, led by African-American pastors who work in the inner city to bring about racial reconciliation and reduced gang violence. They work with the city administration, Republican or Democrat, to seek peaceful, nonviolent solutions to the problems we face in Indianapolis. And so the idea of a group of interracial leaders trying to create a peaceful community is an idea that is present in our God-given humanity, whether the year is 600 BC, 2021 AD, or sometime in the future, imaginary 23rd century. In the TV series Babylon 5, a woman named Delenn is an important leader of a race known as the Minbari. She marries the human president of the Intergalactic Federation, John Sheridan. This interspecies marriage communicates the message that interracial marriage in our society is okay. The different types of families can be acceptable. It seemed appropriate to me that Daniel would have had this same sense of creating a society where people could live together in harmony, that he would have somehow sought out the captain of the Babylonian Guard to develop a friendship that would help him to do just that. And through the conversation in this chapter, Grandpa has with the boys, He helps them to see the words of the Apostle Paul in Ephesians chapter 6 come alive, where Paul talks about how our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Paul's message is echoed in episode 22 of the season 3 TV series Babylon 5, where Delenn says to Sheridan, "There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. It is the darkness of the soul that has lost its way. Greater than the death of flesh is the death of hope, the death of dreams. Against this peril, we can never surrender." And so the question for reflection today, therefore, is how do we help our kids get along with people from different races and not get sucked into gang warfare? And so, and looking at how to use the power of storytelling to tell stories to battle the spiritual forces of this dark world. Well, I hope that this particular episode of Discovering Truth at the Movies has been of help to you. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to go to my website at wisejargon.com/@the-movies. You'll be able to sign up for my Conversations with the Culture monthly newsletter and get access to anthologies of past issues and other things. Well, until next time, thanks so much and God bless.